everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 24 Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and this is the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds, and we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game. With me this week to rate these players and talk everything through is Aman. How you doing, Aman?
Hey.
I'm just trying it out. I'm trying to, Melissa's got some intro music. I figured let's try out some on Aman.
Do I need to unbutton? Because
Play it again, Taran. Play it again.
It's kind of putting me in the Ooh, yes, baby, yes. Okay, it's a nice little Tuesday night. Okay, I'm good. I mean, I was a little tired, but I might be, a little aroused now. I'm glad to be back. Two round tables in a row. I don't think that's ever happened for me before. So that's this is interesting. Very interesting.
Yes, Aman here to wreak havoc on your stocks twice in 2 weeks,
baby.
Yes,
baby. Get ready for it.
And then I don't have any other music, but we can introduce our next guest with
Welcome, fellow mathletes.
The disrespect.
Sorry, it's all I had.
It's fair
The
enough.
other option was
Ooh, guys, it's not looking good.
All right, I'll take the mathlete nerd guy. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've not been on the round table in a minute. I was there at the start of the season, so I'm happy to be here now and give some final ratings before we head into the finale. Taran, I've not listened to the Sunday podcast, the recap, to be honest with you. Has anyone made the connection that the romantic music is basically the HOH room music, but romanticized?
yes.
Okay, good to know. I'm not the only one. Connor, listen to literally every other podcast.
I didn't catch on to that. It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's
Welcome, fellow mathletes.
Kind of ruins the mood, the math.
It's just so sexy, baby. It's just so groovy. I love it.
All right. Well, as I said, we are here, of course, to talk about everything from the feeds this week. This is the final roundtable of the season, as we are going to head into the finale on a Sunday night here on the 25th. So here we are. We're going to talk through it all. We're going to talk through what we saw at the end of last week. We're going to talk about what we've seen so far this week. We're going to make predictions. If you haven't done so already, make sure you find me over on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. I've tweeted out the survey. Fill the survey out. It closes in about 20 minutes. Tons of questions on there. You can predict each individual jury vote. You can predict who you think is going to win the game. You can rate all the players. You can rank your favorites. You can say who you're going to vote for as America's favorite. Rate the season. All kinds of good stuff. So make sure you check it out and fill it out before we get to those if you want your voice to be heard. But until then, we will talk through what we have been seeing on the feeds this week. I think I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Not sure who it's from, but we're just a little bit. But here we go. Pooya, you haven't been on the stock watch in a little while. What have been your thoughts? What have been your thoughts here?
It's been a lot. I mean, we're talking about a season here that started very, very uncomfortable. And then there was some satisfying middle, there was a little bit of intrigue. Then it started getting uncomfortable again. Then last week I was traveling, I was gone. So I thought, you know what? It's the final five. Shouldn't be a lot going on. I'm probably not going to miss anything. And then I found myself having to keep up with stuff because of all the topsy-turvy stuff that was going on. And now here we are. It's kind of weird that it's bookended in a way where, we get to this place where it's the final four. There's nowhere to hide. There's, every stone's been unturned. Yet still, Taylor is, getting this unfair nonsense treatment that's been very tough to watch. It's been a bit of a roller coaster all the way to the bitter end here. And I don't know. This season's been interesting to me because on one hand, it's not stopped having something delivered. It's not stopped me. I'm looking at feed stuff. I'm still keeping up with everything. But on the other hand, part of me is like, I wish it didn't, just so I didn't have to watch it. Just didn't have to keep up with it, because my God, some of it's not been great.
Yeah. Aman, how have you been feeling over the last week?
Yeah, I echo Pooya. I think the season has, I think it has a lot of high moments, and I think the very fact that we could be so close to a Taylor win is what's going to redeem a lot of this for us. But I think that a lot of people still feel generally the same, in that what it took to get here wasn't the best journey, wasn't always the most entertaining. I mean, I think it's been great that we've gotten to see so many people sort of get what's coming to them. So that does sort of have some sort of like value when it comes to reality television and Big Brother. But at the same time, it's just sort of like week after week after week after week of, oh, well, who's going to be the one that screws over Taylor this week? I feel like that's sort of like what's been the overarching narrative of this season. And yeah, it's fun to watch these people lose at the end of the day, but it's also not fun to watch or have to go through it in the first place. So yeah, I think I'm of mixed feelings like everyone else, but I still hope that we get the ultimate haha moment for the rest of them when she wins this. I really hope that's in the cards still.
Yeah, I've started going back for the final 3 game recaps, and man, it's been a trip. Going back to week 1 and just being reminded how quickly, how immediately the narrative was set against Taylor before she had barely spoken a word in the house. People had a perception of her from multiple different angles, multiple different perceptions, being called a firecracker, a guy's girl, condescending, prediction that she'll blow up. Lots of things that happened very, very quickly. And I think that we are now here, day 77 today, and still her actions are being interpreted with zero grace, sort of like just as poorly interpreted as possible. Everything that she does is picked apart with a fine-tooth comb. At one point Turner was like, hey, when I said F you, like I was just joking around, and Monty was like, yeah, totally, don't care, doesn't matter. But if Taylor pulls off his headphones, that's disrespectful. How dare you? It's concerning. It's an issue. It's frustrating. And let me tell you, it's exhausting even just to go back. And also, like, at the time, I think there were a lot of people that were like, yeah, this is a lot. This is a lot that's happening to Taylor. Over time, though, I think that there's become this sort of like edgy underground group of people that are like, oh, Taylor. Can people just shut up about Taylor? Oh my God, she's not perfect, everyone. There is such a thing as a first impression. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
And it's like, and my least favorite, which is like, well, she must have done something.
Yeah.
If everyone felt this way, something must have happened. Yeah, you're right. Something did happen. Racism and misogyny. Have you heard of those things? Because that's what we are pointing out, right? Like, it's so frustrating to get this like edgy teen response to the notion that Taylor was mistreated. Like, I'm not saying that they didn't go overboard, but let's not ignore the fact that first impressions are a thing. Who's ignoring that? First impressions are a thing. And you know what else is a thing? Unfair first impressions due to racism and misogyny. Taylor is not allowed to be a certain way because of the color of her skin, because of her gender, because of the label that she was associated with as a pageant girl immediately. Those things unfairly led to her not being allowed to be herself in the same way that everyone else in the house was. Like, it's that simple, right? And that's why I think people are so frustrated with the treatment that Taylor received throughout the season, and continues to receive, especially because all of those first impressions all turned out to be completely incorrect. She is one of, and I don't think anybody would disagree with this, one of the kindest, least condescending, warmest, and least prone to blowing up people in the house. And yet all of these assumptions were made about her. And these assumptions are part of a larger trend that we have seen over years and years of the show. And here she is sitting in the final three and with a very good chance to win this game. And I've also seen a lot of people saying like, well, only because, she was carried by production, people who felt bad for her in the house, exit interviewers, trying to find anything that they can, I think, to not credit what I think is the reason she's here, which is her social game. All of those qualities that are the antithesis of these assumptions that were made of her are the reasons why she was able to overcome these false perceptions, right? And people will point to like, oh well, people got a little bit of a hint when they were asked questions about this. Like, yeah, that happens all the time. Every season, people are asked questions about the ostracized person in the house, and yet this season, something was done about it, right? This season, she was able to actually get into a majority alliance. She was able to make connections. She was able to position herself in a spot where she was able to last longer than almost anyone else in the majority group. Which is not to say that she played a perfect game by any means, but there's just this weird sense that like because people are either defending her or talking about her mistreatment, and thus she's so popular that there needs to be some sort of like countermeasure. Let's keep everything nice and balanced, as though somebody needs to be the arbitrator of the tone of the conversation around Taylor. But no, you're good. Like these things are understood, especially by me at the very least, and I think by most people. So it's just an incredible story, and we are on the verge of this incredible story, maybe leading to a victory. And the icing on the cake for that is what I talked about this morning, which is that Monty is talking about bringing Taylor to the final two, and a large reason why is because of these misconceptions that people have about her, that he has about her, that he is underestimating her because he still can't see the value in who she is and why she might get jury votes over him in the end versus Turner, who I don't think will get jury votes over him in the end. And for that to be the reason she wins is just so much irony, and would be such a weird way to wrap the season up. But I mean, that's where we are. And that's sort of like, those are my thoughts, right, on the season and where we are right now. If Taylor doesn't win, that story has a much more tragic ending. I mean, Aman doing his Maggie impression.
I was going to say, yeah.
That's probably where that did come from. Shout out to Maggie. No, yeah, I completely agree, though, because a lot of people seem to this whole, whataboutism. It's like, Taylor's only winning because the jury is starting to become privy to just how interesting of a story it would be if she won. And I'm like, okay, does that mean that she shouldn't win? It's like these people that want that are discrediting Taylor's game because they feel like, well, people hated her. they hate her this entire time. So they should continue to hate her when they're in the jury and they have time outside of the house and outside of the game to decompress and actually think about what they were doing, what kind of role they had to play in her perception. And it's like those people want all of the jury members to continue on with that hatred and that bias towards her so that she doesn't win. I'm like, how does that, first of all, that sounds a little evil. You need to check yourself. Second of all, why aren't the jury members allowed to be like, oh, you know what? Ooh, Taylor really was going through it. I kind of had a role in that. You know what? I'm going to give her my vote because she went through all of that and she still won. I don't understand how, or she made it to the final 3 rather. I don't understand how that's any less worthy of a story as, okay, well, Monty played a pretty decent, you know, a fine game. Because in my mind, none of them, I think most of us agree that most of them haven't really played the best Big Brother games that we've ever seen. Every cast is different. Every metric is going to be different for every season. And this happened, like this season just happens to be, you know, about the girl who had the Cinderella story of Big Brother. And I don't think that that's necessarily bad. I just think that that's what Big Brother 24 happens to be. If you are someone that is more inclined to vote for someone or want to root for someone that is more strategically inclined than the rest of the cast, that's fine. That's great to have that opinion, but your opinion doesn't really matter here in terms of like who the jury is going to want to see win this game. And it's looking like more and more every day. I mean, we've only had one jury segment, but I expect it will probably be the same whenever we get to see them again, whether it be Thursday or Friday or Sunday, whenever. I think they're going to want to be more interested in the Cinderella story. And that's fine because nothing about Taylor's experience this season has been, she's just been such a prominent figure this entire time. And I think you're hard pressed not to want to root for something like that. So is she the most strategically sound? No, but the ultimate question is, does that really matter for Big Brother 24? And I don't think that it does. And that's just where we're at.
Yeah, and if you're simultaneously making the argument that Taylor must have done something to warrant the treatment, or at least the seed of the treatment that she got in weeks 1 and 2, and then at the same time, again, simultaneously making the argument that if people now want to vote for Taylor to win, that was not of her doing, that is somehow some other entity's doing, exit interviews, production in the diary room, whatever the case may be, then you really need to check yourself, because all of the evidence that we were able to see on the live feeds go in the complete opposite direction. We saw nothing that she did to warrant such treatment in the early days, and we saw plenty that would warrant people feeling fine about Taylor, feeling good about Taylor, maybe even feeling like they would want to vote for Taylor on their way out the door. And so just think about it. Just think about what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, she's had to play the game on pretty much the hardest level from night 1. Remember, let's go back to the first night of the feeds. We hadn't drafted yet. She was easily the chalk pick. Everyone's like, oh my God, she knows the game. It's going to be amazing. Within 24 hours, we did our draft. She fell to 9th pick because we were like, this house is not going to let her get far for no reason other than whatever biases and judgments they've put on her when she's done nothing. Indy, in the middle of the season, took like 5 people into the pantry and was like, if we can't, we have to get her out. She will, whatever, she'll outlast us if we don't get her out. Every single person in that pantry is in the jury house right now, drinking Haterade, Kool-Aid, whatever they're having. So she survived all of that. You know, she pretty much has been in a damning position from the beginning. And it's unbelievable to me that we're able to sit here in the penultimate, actually maybe the last roundtable of the season, actually talking about her having a lot of win equity, like half win equity, 50%, maybe more even. Final 3, guaranteed. Final 2 seat, looking pretty good. Can do quite a bit. I feel like if I'm trying to put myself in the game, right? If I'm playing Big Brother, Taylor's path is the worst one for me because I don't think I could mentally handle that. I'm someone who I like, getting along with people. I like vibing with people. I like communicating with people. If I feel people don't like me, I crumble. I don't know how to deal with that. And to deal with that for 70 days, not easy. That is not easy. To do all that, still get up, still what is it? I'm feeling like Jacob Jones right now, pulling yourself by the bootstraps or whatever, and going out and still doing stuff and still getting yourself there. She's won 2 comps. So you can't even be like, oh, we wanted to get her out, but she kept winning the comps and kept getting safety. She had 2 comps. She has been available to get evicted, but has been able to maneuver off of that. What does that tell you? Yes, she was not evicted by the people in the house because they saw her as benefit to her game, or they saw her as a benefit for them. Oh, I'll get rid of her later, or she's not a threat to me. That's their mistake. They made a tactical error. She's here at final 3. She could be at final 2. She could win the whole thing, and that would be history like nothing we've ever seen before. And I am excited to see it play out. But my God, at this point, it's so close. I can taste it. Just say it. I don't know how I'm going to feel if it doesn't happen now, but I'm not going to say more.
Yeah, I've definitely sort of over the last week, I've been thinking more about jury votes. I've been watching the feeds. I've been noting. Obviously, what we saw was that Turner ends up voting out Alyssa, which we can talk about that. And then Taylor wins HOH. Monty wins veto. He's going to evict Britney. Other things we've seen, though, Monty has been telling Taylor many times, over and over, I am taking you to the final 2. He's gone on to say that Turner has a stacked resume, that he thinks he has a better chance to beat Taylor, that he is not telling Turner that he's taking him to the final 2. All of these things are true. He has not told Turner he's taking him to the final 2 this week. He has been up and down telling Taylor that he will. Taylor doesn't have any power over him right now. There's no reason for him to be lying to her, but not to Turner. And if anything, he should be locking Turner in even more while he still has power over Turner, but he's not. He's just allowing Turner to say, I'm taking you to the final 2, which, by the way, has also slowed down recently. I can't remember the last time Turner said that he was taking Monty to the final 2. I fully believe that Monty intends to take Taylor to the final 2. And obviously Taylor will take herself. I think she intends to take Monty right now. And I think that's because she also thinks she has a better chance against Monty than Turner, or at least an equal enough chance that it's not worth cutting him. And then Turner, of course, can't be sure. I think I would lean, of course, Monty. But I absolutely think he's capable of taking Taylor if he thinks that that's the better shot, especially if he feels like he's not getting a lot of support from Monty. I would say especially if, and this is a pretty niche scenario, but if Turner and Taylor both win parts 1 and 2 and go to final part 3 together, I think that there's a very good chance that Turner makes a deal with Taylor that he will honor to take her if he wins. With that in mind, and that's assuming Turner even wins it all, which I don't think he will, considering how poorly he has performed in a day's comp. But that's where we are right now. We're looking at most likely a Taylor and Monty final 2, and that is the trickiest final 2 to figure out where the jury votes will go, especially because we've only had 1 jury segment so far.
Yeah.
And that jury segment only had Indy by herself, sitting there for a week. The rest of it was people coming in, and then it was mostly focused on the Kyle stuff. And so we got a little bit of hey, we're rooting for Taylor, but how far does that go? It's hard to say, especially when, we didn't get a great sense from a lot of these people where they would probably lean between Taylor and Monty, at least, when they left. So that's kind of where we are. And, I've kind of talked myself into the idea that I do think Taylor will probably take this. I think that her chances of getting to the final 2 are very high. And I do kind of feel like she'll get these votes. And I've talked about this, but I feel like Michael will go Taylor. I do. He is a messy Twitter stan, and he has been anti-bro from the start. And if he had to vote Monty over like Alyssa, I think he would. But Monty over Turner, I think he will. But Monty over Taylor, the person he knows is like the queen of the season, who he had a good relationship with. I don't think so. I think he's going to vote Taylor. I do think that. In addition to that, I think that like Alyssa talks so much about wanting a woman to win. I think she would lean Taylor over Monty. I think that Britney is obviously there. And then there's Joseph, Jasmine, and Indy. Joseph, I've gone back and forth on. He obviously had the bro thing with Monty, but I think there are a few reasons why he might lean toward Taylor. One of which is because he wants to support her and her story. Another is that he bonded more with her toward the end of his stay in the house than with Monty. Another is that I think there's going to be talk about him throwing her under the bus at Direfest, and I think he'll want to like make up for that in some way. Jasmine, I think, was again leaning Taylor seemingly. Indy had a closer relationship with Monty, but she was pissed at him. Remember, Monty is the one that took Indy out, basically. Or at least she feels like he put her up on the block, and she was so annoyed at that. Like, she absolutely felt betrayed, and really like has held a grudge, I think. So, I feel like the votes are there. I do. But anything could happen.
I think between Monty and Taylor, I think the only votes that she does not have are Kyle and Terrence. I think that's it. Terrence is never going to vote for Taylor unless he has some sort of like come to Jesus moment where he realizes that, dude, you look dumb as hell. Just vote for Taylor. You freaking a-hole. Just do it. And then as far as Kyle is concerned, we talked about this when I was on the update a few days ago. I think your logic is sound. I think because of the whole thing with, with Britney and Michael and all of that, I do think that Kyle feels as though, I've messed up with Monty the most. I owe him my vote. I think that's how he will go. But I think everybody else, and I think Turner will probably in the heat of the moment, because he won't have any, assuming he's the one that gets voted out at that point. I don't think that he votes for Taylor only because he probably still has some sort of loyalty to Monty, and he feels, if we go off of the logic that he presented to us in his intro package, talking about, I will take the person that I know that I can beat. I don't know. Actually, I don't know that I think about it. Maybe he thinks, oh no, Monty, you dumbass, you probably had a better chance beating me, so why would you take me out? Ooh, I don't know.
I think that he votes Monty no matter what.
I think so too.
I think that he made such a big deal of Alyssa threatening her jury vote and how much that pissed him off. Like, how dare you? Just because I cut you in the game, you're not going to vote for me anymore. Like, that's so messed up. I think he would look so hypocritical if he didn't vote Monty, and I think he knows that. So I think he's a vote for Monty. That's I did ask the audience. So the survey is closed. Different jury situations between Monty and Taylor. The audience thinks that Taylor will beat Monty 6-3, and it is those three votes: Kyle, Terrence, and Turner, that are Monty votes.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I think that the women are going to vote for Taylor. I just don't see a world in which they don't, especially when they've become so pro Taylor from what we've seen in the jury house. I think all of them will, especially with Britney having the chance to sing her praises and talk about all of that stuff. I just think that Taylor that's 4 right there.
Their whole thing coming into the game was girls.
Exactly. And the one girl that was excluded out of that is the one that's
their only choice. It's the one choice. You got to go for it.
So be about that action, baby.
So, interestingly, the audience thinks that the person closest to voting for Taylor is they think that basically that Kyle is more likely to vote for Taylor than Turner. And I'm inclined to agree. If the vote is already 6-3, I think Kyle probably flips to Taylor.
And Turner's final two?
No,
Monty.
between Monty and Taylor, Kyle is more likely to vote for Taylor over Monty than Turner is. Which I agree with. I think Turner will vote for Monty no matter what. I think Kyle, if he knows the votes are going Taylor, wants to get on the right side of history, right?
Right.
So I would say if this count is correct, it's more likely to be 7-2 with Turner and probably Terrence still holding out. But you know, who knows? The person they think is most likely to flip over and vote for Monty over Taylor is Joseph. They think that Joseph is the most likely to vote for Monty, but they do still feel he will vote for Taylor.
Yeah, I think Joseph will want to. I think Joseph is more prone to wanting to be on the right side of history than Kyle is. I still think that Kyle probably just goes for Monty just because, in his mind, if I'm being Kyle right now, I mean, he already knows that he's in some deep shit, right? So I feel like he's like, well, I can vote for a black person either way, so let me just go for the guy that I probably, have the most ground to make up with. So I think he just goes for Monty at that point. But it's a toss up. He could still vote for Taylor too, of course.
Pooya, what do you think? Are you on board with this count?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like the three mentioned makes sense. I feel like Joseph being the one closest to maybe being a flip for Monty makes sense, although I still don't think I would say that. I think just statistically it makes sense of the people sitting there. And then Kyle voting Taylor over Monty and doing so like with a higher likelihood from the audience over Turner also makes sense, because I think that no matter what, when it comes to Turner, he's the last one out and he has the least amount of time to marinate. So I think ultimately he's going to go, this is the guy that I've been riding with since like the beginning. And then even though we separated into Dyer and Brochella, he was still with me. We were still the one half of the pound. We got Michael out together. He had the veto at Final Four and still chose to keep me. So he was loyal to me. I don't think he's going to be like, wow, screw you. Especially if like Monty wins final and kicks him out, I don't think that's going to change anything. So I think Turner keeps it that way.
Yeah. All right. There are some other like narratives here, of course. If Joseph does go Monty, it's possible he brings at least Indy with him, and that alone could be it. It's also possible Alyssa or Michael vote Monty. They both said that Monty was playing the best game coming out, even though I think both also were talking about basically rooting for Taylor. So, where they go could theoretically be up in the air as well. I do think that's where a lot of the uncertainty comes from. But overall,
I think it really depends on who takes who. If Taylor is the one that takes Monty, I think that might play a little bit more into like those toss-up-y people left. Like if Taylor is the one that controls her fate and wins her way to the final two, I think that maybe gets a little bit more credit with like maybe like an Indy or a Joseph. If Monty is the one that takes Taylor, then it's like much more. It's like, ooh, maybe. But yeah, I just at this point, I really just think if Taylor wins, she just needs to come Monty. Just do it. Just do it. Just get rid of him and get that victory against Turner. Just do it.
Well, I did also ask the audience how they think Taylor would fare against Turner. Interestingly, though, they did say same vote count, 6-3, with the same three people, except sub in Monty for Turner. They think that Kyle, Terrence, and Monty would be Turner votes against Taylor, with Monty being the most likely person to vote for Taylor between the three of them, which I think is mostly true. I think if Taylor cuts Monty for Turner, I think Monty votes for Turner.
Yeah, this is bigger than the headphones. And if the headphones cause that emotion, this will cause plenty more.
If Turner cuts Monty for Taylor, I think Monty votes for Taylor, personally. So I think that depends on who cuts him. They then have Alyssa as the most likely to go over and vote for Turner instead of Taylor. Which, yeah, maybe, but I don't think she's going to vote for Turner. Not unless Kyle really gets in her head, right? Which I guess is possible.
I was thinking a lot about that too. I still think that there is a realm in which I think that if Turner is an option, if it's against Monty, she votes for Turner. I think so. If it's against Taylor, I think she votes for Taylor, because I feel like there is still, like, just based off of what we know about Alyssa and how she operates, I just think that if Turner is an option against Monty, she's pissed at Turner. She is, but I still think that there's something deep down where she's like, I'm not gonna not vote for him. I just feel that in my bones. And I know that we can't necessarily compare all of her relationships in the house, but like the biggest indication of that is how the whole thing with Kyle went down. Like, she broke up with him and then all of a sudden she was back with him again. I just feel like something could happen in terms of the vote count with Turner as well. I just don't see why she would, especially not even really having a strong relationship with Monty. There's no really good reason to vote for him unless you're really, really still pissed with Turner at that point, which I feel like with time in the jury house will have subsided. So.
Well, I did also ask the audience, Monty versus Turner, how would that go? And the audience thinks that vote would be 8-1. Monty wins.
Who's
with
the one?
Britney being the one vote for Turner. She is saying to the cameras that she will not vote for Monty, and that she would vote for Turner over Monty. So I think that could track. Of course, she will have the chance to go to the jury roundtable where she may be convinced otherwise. In fact, it is pretty close. Alyssa is the most likely person that they think would flip to Turner, and Kyle is not far behind her. Either way, though, I think this is also pretty accurate. I think 8-1, 9-0 is the most likely option between Monty and Turner, which, like, I feel like we're not talking about this enough. Just like I maybe it's because I think this sometimes happens that when a player makes a really dumb move, but it benefits the person that people are rooting for, people are kind of just like, shh, don't say anything. They'll hear you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hear you, and then they won't do it. Don't talk about it. But man, if Monty takes Taylor to the final two, that is going to be one of the worst final three decisions of all time. Considering if we're correct about these vote counts, right? If he loses 6-3 to Taylor and wins 8-1 against Turner, wow, was that a bad decision?
See, I'm still not sold on it. Like, being, I do think that Monty has the better shot here. I don't know if it's 8-1. I don't know about that quite yet. I still feel like, especially if Monty is the one that cuts Taylor. Taylor's very gracious. She is. I don't know if she votes for Monty in the end, if he's the one that cuts her, especially after all the stuff that he's been saying about taking her, especially after all of the conversations they've had about, like, you know, not wanting to cut the last black person at the end. I don't know if you can go back on that and still get her vote.
Yeah,
so I feel
don't
like
have sex with me and then lie to me and cut me. Like,
I don't think that's right. And I think that Britney already is a vote that's locked in for Turner at that point as well, just based off of how he's been treated, how she's been treated by him for the past couple of days.
At the same time, though, Taylor is planning to cut Monty, and so I do think there's if Britney was in the game at least, so I do think there is a chance that she would be like, fair game.
Right. Yeah, I could see that as well. I think it'll depend on where they are in the next couple of days too. I feel like that could play into it, depending how much more reassurances they give each other, what they're feeling as we get closer to that time.
So those are the three primary ones. Obviously, I did still include Britney, just in case. You know, maybe Turner gets medevaced in the next 2 days. So just for kicks here, Monty versus Britney is actually, according to the audience, a worse scenario for Monty than up against Turner. They think Turner is the biggest jury goat here against Monty. At least they think that Michael and Alyssa would both be votes for Britney over Monty. Can't say that I fully disagree either. I think that with Taylor as the person closest to flipping her vote to vote for Britney to make it 6-3, I think this is relatively accurate. I think that most of these people would vote for Monty over Britney. And then Taylor versus Britney is the one and only unanimous vote. They think every single vote would go to Taylor over Britney, with Michael being the closest to vote for Britney. I think this is fair. I think, yeah, Britney can't win.
No, I don't think so. And Michael, if he's giving Britney the vote, it's 100% the sympathy / sorry I dragged you on the way out / like thank you for being my ride or die like throughout the season. Like at best, that's the one vote that I could see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Again, I think the Monty versus Taylor is by far the most likely scenario, and the one that is also the most interesting. So yes. It's not often that you get those. But I think that, again, we're doing this off of one jury segment and some very inconclusive exit interviews, in my opinion. So we will probably have a much better idea of where the jury might go. I'm assuming on Thursday. I'm assuming we get a jury segment on Thursday. And that could tell us everything could change on Thursday. If all of a sudden, Joseph is like really pulling for my man Monty, then that could be it. That could be game over.
That would sort of take the air out of the wings of the Taylor has this in the bag scenario, but something tells me that everyone recognizes the magic of what it means for Taylor to be in the end. And when they see the footage of her winning her way to the final 3, once that momentum gets going, I feel like it's just so intoxicating that you vote there. I would hope. I really would hope. But we'll see. And I know that a few people are like, oh, well, what is this about? Is it about who played the best game, or is it about the best story? I'm like, well, it depends on the jury. It just depends on the jury. What do they value best? I mean, there really is no right or wrong answer here when it comes to who deserves to win. It's just, who does the jury think deserves to win?
It's also like this. Your story is a story for a reason. Like who played the best game? Well, Monty won more competitions. He wasn't on the block as often. He wasn't targeted as often. He was more respected in the game. But he also came into the game not having to deal with what Taylor had to deal with. I mean, that's one of the biggest contrasts that I've seen going back to week 1 for these game recaps, is that Taylor walks in immediately attacked from multiple angles. Monty walks in and almost everyone in the house is like, got to work with that guy. I mean, look at him. And Daniel even at one point was like, I would like to target him, but can't have him retaliating against me. There's an inherent advantage to being like a big muscly dude. We've talked about this a lot. And at least in comparison to where Taylor was, there was, I think, a huge Taylor had to deal with and contend with a lot more than Monty did, which is not to negate what Monty also dealt with. I mean, let's not forget the Kyle situation and the inherent disadvantages of being a black man in the house, because those also are disadvantages and probably one of the reasons why Daniel is targeting him. But in comparison to Taylor, I mean, it's not even close, right? And so being able to come back from that and still having the respect of the jury, and still like having a social game where like she didn't just curl up into a defensive antisocial ball and have no relationships with anyone and be dragged to the end as a goat. Like most players in this position are goats. they've been dragged to the end. Most players, there's a reason why the person who faces a vote on week 1 has never gone on to win the game, except now in Big Brother Canada. Because most of the time, that person is down and out for the rest of the game. They can't come back from that. They can't climb back up that hill. And Taylor has. She climbed back up that hill to get to maybe not like a dominant position, maybe not like I ran the game position, but the fact that she got back up that hill at all in the first place and now might be in the end with people on the jury that had genuine great relationships with her, and people are still underestimating her. Like, these are all things not to be ignored. These are all part of her story. This is why her story is so good, and it's a part of her gameplay. So, compare that to Monty, who, again, can't negate what he dealt with. Also played, I think, a pretty good game. But Monty was able to kind of like coast off of the leftovers for a few weeks there, right? Taylor had no such luxury, right? Taylor was fighting every single week, every single day. I think they both have arguments to win strategically and story-wise.
I feel like I would just give so much. I just feel like I would give so much more credence to someone wanting to vote more strategically if, like, they were also recognizing what they were like strategically. It's like none of y'all were really that great, so it's like. So we really
if you can only vote strategically if you're good strategically, then nobody's ever voting strategically because most people on the jury are not very strategic.
So I'm like, like, what's the benchmark this season? Like, what are we doing? So I'm just like, to me, I just feel like, if Taylor wins this season and it's because of the story, it was meant to be that way. I just and I don't think that that's like any detriment to her game or Monty's game. I just think it just sort of is what it is. And I think if people in the jury are able to recognize, oh wow, like I really didn't like it. I feel like for people not, like I said at the beginning of this, if people decide not to vote for Taylor because they don't like her, and then they sort of have this sort of come to Jesus moment where it's like, well, why don't you like her? Like, what did she do? And they don't have any answers to that. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, because what are the answers? What is the logic behind not wanting to vote for her other than you didn't like her? Did you like Monty too? Like, did you have a relationship with Monty? Because many of them really didn't. So it's just like, what are you going to do? It just doesn't make any sense to me not to just want to give it to her. But, I'm also a viewer and not in the jury. So,
well, I think that's the thing, right? Is that if, the person Taylor sitting next to at the final 2 played a magnificent game. We're talking like top tier, can't be compared to many people type game. Then I could see a bit of a, I don't know which direct. Like, I really feel like this was an amazing game, but then there's a story right here. I feel like with this season, there's been a lot of gameplay. There's been good gameplay. There's been not good gameplay, but ultimately it's kind of been medium gameplay. Like, from most people, medium gameplay throughout the game. So I don't think you're at the end here with any of the combination of the 3 of them. You're like, oh my God, that was the best game I've ever seen. I don't think anyone sitting there has that. So then you have to look at the scorecard and see what is going to get valued. And again, like you said earlier, Aman, every season is a different game because every season has a different group of people, a different jury, and jurors are all individuals who look at the game one way, shape, or another. Like, they're not all looking at it the same. Not everyone's looking at it for strategic. Some people are looking at, well, this person was my friend. Some people are going to look at it and think, oh, this person won the most comps. Some are going to say, like, oh, this person masterminded the most. But I think one thing you cannot deny come, Sunday night, if Taylor's sitting there is, yeah, she was about on her way home pretty much from the beginning and is now here in the finale dress that we watched her wear and we thought was, ooh, she's being very arrogant. She's in it now live and she might be able to collect that check. So how do you not give that, if I'm sitting there, that is an incredible story. That is the clowns, Daniel and Nicole had an alliance called the Rogue Rats, and it was from rogues to riches. Taylor's whole story is from rats to riches in that she was pretty much treated like a rat in the beginning, ignored, and now is about to look like $1 million sitting there potentially collecting $750,000. I just ultimately think at the end of the day, if Taylor's sitting there next to someone who hasn't played like the most oh my god game, I could see that vote going there easy to Taylor. Easy.
Yeah.
It's just all gonna come down to, damn, they really should have given us a jury segment. I just can't believe the last time we saw one was so far removed from the end game at this point. How have we not seen anything? Thursday better have a fat one. I need it.
We're getting a cookout segment, so I would assume we're also going to get a jury segment. Yeah, just a couple of stats here for Taylor. If she goes on to win the game, she will be the first person ever in Big Brother US to win the game, having been on the block facing a vote in week 1. Now, that one is a little muddy because she never actually faced the vote. But still closest to that stat for sure. She also will be the winner who has faced a vote more times than any other winner at 5 times. Again, a little muddied by that first week, but considering the damage it does to your game, I think it's still worth counting to at least a degree. And if she is sitting on the block technically at the final 3, then that would make 6 times and or 5 times, and that would definitely still break that record. She would also, if she doesn't win the final 3 HOH, be I think the winner with the lowest amount of competition wins since probably like Dr. Will. I mean, 2 competition wins. Like that's very, very low. I haven't done all of the work on that one, but at least in like a decade. She would also be the winner who has spent the least amount of time watching Big Brother in the last decade since Hayden Moss. So lots of different statistics there. Of course, all of this is in the US because we had a recent Canadian winner that broke almost all of these same records, except for the being a fan one. So yeah, we will see in terms of all of that. This is, of course, assuming that she does take the victory. Let's talk about some of these other questions. I did ask the audience, where would each player rank as a winner of Big Brother? I ask this. I've started to ask this every season. If they were to win the game, where would they rank as a winner? We've got the bottom tier winners. We've got low tier, middle tier, like the good tier, the top tier, and then in the Big Brother pantheon, the toppest of top tiers. What are your opinions here, Aman? What do you think between the remaining 4 players? Where would you place them as winners?
I think all 3 of them at this point are sort of like in the middle range because, like we've been saying, I mean, none of them have played like strategically like all-time great games. But if I'm also trying to like move away from the fact that like you necessarily have to have like strategy all the time, like if I'm like discounting a little bit of that, I would say like if Taylor were to win this game, like narratively speaking, maybe even socially speaking, she's probably still like middle tier, but maybe like upper middle. Just because like the story would just be so you don't really see stuff like that a lot of the time. I think the other 2, Turner and Monty, would probably be like a little under Taylor for me, to be honest, but still like within that middle tier range, because I don't think anyone was absolutely horrible. They just weren't the best.
Yeah, I think ultimately the winner of this season isn't going to be in the pantheon again for like the elite gameplay. I don't think that we got that this season. But again, also for me personally, though, I love a story. We're talking stats here, Taran. The stats you laid out, if Taylor's to win with all those stats, that is wild. That is wild. She would be a winner. And this is the thing you pointed out on the updates this week. Pretty much what the last 4 seasons, every winner has won how many comps, Taran? What, 5+, 6+?
Yeah. Like, well, at least 4+ for sure.
Right. Which is, that's, you know, we've been in the comp era of the show. So to have a winner not be in that and to win with not that many comps, and then also, you know, been a target from day one, or been looked at day one, been ostracized. To me, that is a great winner in that regard. And from a story wise, top tier, 100%. But I think ultimately, if I'm ranking it with the metrics being gameplay, probably throw it in the middle. I think whoever of the 3 wins, I would put it in the middle.
Well, the audience says that Turner and Monty are just cracking middle tier. Middle tier winners. They say Britney would be a low tier winner. Although I feel like these questions can sometimes be a little weird, because if Britney were to somehow pull out a win from her current position, I feel like that might elevate this rating, right? But they say Britney would be a low tier winner. Taylor, they say, in the good tier, just above middle tier, not top tier, although close, but in that a full tier above Turner and Monty, the audience thinks. So that is where they have placed the remaining final 4.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the audience who they want to win the game. 87% want Taylor to win the game. 8% want Turner to win the game. 3% want Britney to win the game, and another slightly lower 3% want Monty to win the game. 3% want Monty to win the game.
God. Considering that he is one of the 2 potential winners come Sunday, that is wild. But also, if you've been watching this past week, it's not that wild. So I fully get him. I will be honest though, did not expect it to be that 3% and also be 4th place. I just didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he really did a number on his popularity this week. Like, it's just not been good. I mean, it really hasn't been. If we're being honest, it hasn't been the best all season. And then he had like a nice little bump with, you know, this recent little fling with Taylor, but now he's even ruined that. So it's like,
yeah, and he's telling her, let me explain to you. I think I know a little bit about your own personality. Let me explain to you how, it's just so you won't be surprised when you get out of the house about how you're perceived. Let me give you a heads up about your coldness. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? You know, we're talking story. Some people might be like, well, is story enough? He called her damaged goods. How sweet would it be if she damages his ego finale night and the final 2?
I thought you were going to say damages his goods.
I was going to say, yeah, damage his goods too, baby.
I feel like his goods be damaged when he gets out. Taran, that is not romantic. Damaged goods ain't romantic. We need the Squid Game music for damaged goods.
Oh, boy. I asked who the audience thinks will win the game. Not who they want, who will win the game. Taylor with 61% was the top pick. The audience thinks that Taylor will win the game. 61% of them. 35% think Monty will win the game. 4% think Turner will win the game. Good luck.
Very hopeful 4. Yeah.
0% think Britney will win the game.
Damn, again, not even a 0.00001%. Dang.
Again, I think that's kind of where I'm at too, to be honest. I feel like Taylor and Monty in the final 2, very likely, and I am leaning like a good 60 to 70% Taylor gets those votes. Yeah, kind of agree.
Yeah, I'd say 70-30, but then that little bit of let me not get too excited and comfortable, and I'll go 60-40 is kind of after assessment for me.
Mm-hmm. I also asked the audience, who do you want to win the final HOH? Unsurprisingly, similar numbers, 84% Taylor, 9% Turner, Britney.
She won't be there. Oh, that's so funny.
And 2% Monty. 2% want Monty to win the
want
final
her to
3
be in the final 2, but only 0% think she's gonna win.
They know who she's gonna take. Who do you think will win the final HOH? I asked the audience. 59% say Monty will win the final HOH. This is not a bad guess, considering a stat that I've been mentioning, which is that since they changed part 3 to trivia instead of what did the juror say, the final 4 veto winner has always gone on to win the final 3 HOH. And that is 4 years straight, 4 years running. So will Monty continue this trend? We'll have to wait and see. 29% think Taylor will buck the trend and win the final HOH. 11% think Turner can still pull this one out. Even though 5% want Britney to win the final 3 HOH, 0% think she will.
Yeah, this is tough. I really don't know. That's an interesting stat about the final 4 veto. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, part 1 is usually always like an endurance type of thing, which I think all 3 of them really have a good shot at, to be honest. I mean, I guess it just depends on what type of endurance it is. Will it be one of the things where they're on the platform that's hanging on by a string and they're going around in a circle, hitting something? Then
We haven't gotten spinny all season. Spinny discs.
Yeah. So I would assume that maybe Monty has a slightly lower chance of winning that over someone like Turner and Taylor, who are smaller than he is. If it's one of those things where they're sitting on a wrecking ball and slamming into things, then maybe he has a better shot, because it's less about like holding your weight up and more just about willpower and balance.
They do, like, unicorns last season or something?
What
Am I remembering this wrong?
What happened
They
with
on
the
like
unicorns?
weren't they on like horses or something?
I literally cannot remember. All I remember is the one where they effed up Derek F's knees. That was the one between him and Ozza. And then the trivia one, of course. I can't remember the first one. What was the first one?
It was some sort of weird one. And then the season before that, it was a floaty thing. Rocket ships, they're saying.
I remember the cats from 18. Or sorry, yeah, 18. That's
18.
That's the
I
one
always remember the cats too. Yeah.
I remember the cats because that was just wild.
Yeah.
And then I remember BB19. BB19 was the unicorn one, I think.
Okay, but I feel like a lot of the time part 1 is some sort of stationary balance back and forth. It's not like, a wall. Yeah. You gotta like hold on to a thing and balance or something along those lines. Yeah, they're saying it was like a spaceship rocket sort of thing last season. But I think similar to the unicorns and stuff like that. BB22 part 1 was spinning disc. Is that true?
BB20, yeah, it was. They were like zombie type deal thingies, yeah.
Okay, I could really see it being spinning discs since we haven't gotten it already. Haven't gotten it yet. I think that's probably the worst one for Taylor, just because spinning discs can really go to anyone.
But didn't Nicole win that one?
I mean, I think that like it's one of those ones that like it depends. Similar to the wall, like it depends on like where they place the handholds, like who's gonna do well. Turner can't do spinning, they're saying. I remember that. I remember him saying that. So it could come down to Monty and Taylor. In that case, I do think Monty is probably a little heavy for this one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's actually
the best
case
one
for Taylor.
Her, yeah.
If Turner, because Turner's I think her main competition in part 1.
Yeah.
And then I think Monty crushes Turner in part 2.
Well, you want to really mess with Turner, spin for the part 1 and then Bollerino for part 2. Just completely remove him from contention. Although I don't think you could, I guess you could Bollerina days kind of comp something. But yeah, no, I think spinny, I think I'm putting money on Taylor for that.
Yeah, so basically, I think Taylor probably has an edge in part 1. But if she has to compete in part 2, I think against Monty, she probably loses. Against Turner, I think it might be somewhat even. I think Turner will be behind her on answering questions, but faster than her in doing whatever the weird thing they're doing is. So I think that one could go either way. And then I do think that Turner probably doesn't win part 3. So whoever gets there with Turner, I think wins it. If it's both Taylor and Monty, I think it's going to be a close one. Could come down to a tiebreaker this year. Basically, the last 3 years, if I'm remembering correctly, not only was the final tally last 3 years 8-7, Jackson versus Holly, Cody versus Nicole, Xavier versus Azza. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think at least 2 of the 3 times, if not all 3 times, the person who got one question wrong knew the right answer and just like messed up. I remember that happening to Holly for sure. I'm pretty sure it happened to Nicole. I don't remember if it happened to Azza as well, but I feel like I remember it happening.
It did happen to Azza as well. She overthought the last question and lost.
Yep. And then and even thinking to like Big Brother Canada, that's happened before as well. I remember Kira was just like one question off, or at least started to mess up with one question that they did know the answer to, but screwed it up. So like a lot of the time in that part 3, it really comes down to like, you know, the answers, the questions are pretty easy, but you just like, you have to go too fast. And so that theoretically could go to either Monty or Taylor, I think, considering that they are both capable of answering every question.
My anxiety, man, it's like flaring up just talking about all of this. I just want Taylor to win. That's all I want. My heart is beating as if it's already happening. Oh my God.
I asked the audience, who do you want to be evicted this week? 69% want Turner out. 31% want Britney out. Who do I think? And then the question, who do you think Monty is taking to the final 2 if he wins the final HOH? 70% think he will take Taylor. I'm higher than that right now. I'm probably like 90%, maybe like 85%. I think he's 100%. I would say like 97%. I'm sure he plans to take Taylor right now. The only reason I would go lower than that by Sunday is that by Sunday something might have changed. For instance, maybe Taylor does lose part 1 and 2. She's not in part 3. Maybe Monty is having to make like bigger deals with Turner to make sure Turner takes him. And maybe something weird happens. Maybe he gets mad at Taylor because she, picks up one of his shirts and puts it in the laundry. Yeah, exactly. I think the only way that Taylor doesn't make it is if Monty decides to double down on his assholishness and not take her. It's just, yeah, which would just be so. Y'all, if that happens, I might be inconsolable. I really might be. I really might have to think about watching Big Brother ever again. Because
I mean,
to go from what we have experienced with her thus far, for her game to come down to some, oh my God, I would just be so upset. Ugh.
It's not lost on me that if that was to happen, if that specific scenario would happen, Aman, in May, we're watching the finale of BB Can. And the most obvious, what we thought was a done and dusted part 3 once it was concluded was about to happen. And then it didn't. The difference there was our jaws were on the floor, but we're like, oh my God, I think Kevin got this. How did this happen? That would be very much a mourning period if Taylor's the one walking out. Obviously, at that point, because I think especially with the fact that they haven't showed any jury segments and the show's been what the show's been, I think Taylor has got a lock on. Do you have an AFP question here, Taran?
I do.
Never mind. We'll get there when we get there then.
All right, we'll get there. The audience thinks Turner, 81% will take Monty over Taylor. That's more confident than I am, to be honest. I would go more like 65 right now. And that percentage might go up over time, but I really think there's a lot of things. If I think Monty could change his mind, I think Turner is even more likely to change his mind depending on circumstances. And I think that he could also just like switch up at the last minute. I mean, remember that he has to tell Monty he's taking him to the final 2 right now. Monty has his fate in his hands. I think Turner is absolutely the kind of person that could never say a word about it and then just be like, sorry, Monty, I got to take up first place.
But does he really? Does he really? Because I agree with you, but then I'm like, does he really think that he can beat Taylor though?
I think he feels that way. He's talked about it like he has a better chance to beat Taylor. The question is, does he feel confident enough that it's a lock enough that he's going to make such a big betrayal on the off chance that he still loses? Right?
Yeah.
The audience thinks 71% Taylor takes Monty to the final two. I think it's pretty good right now. It's pretty close to where I would be. I think Taylor also could change her mind, but right now, I think she feels good, especially because Britney has been talking about Turner's potential to win a jury vote over Monty's. She still feels like Monty is more likely to. Monty is the more likely win for her. If she thought or knew that Turner was the easier beat, I think she would take Turner in a heartbeat. But I don't think she knows that. So that's where the audience feels right now. I'm mostly in agreement there. The audience also thinks that, yes, Monty is making the best decision for his game with this veto. 71% of the audience agrees to evict Britney. 29%, though, disagrees. Here's the thing. I think if Monty was planning to take Turner to the final two, yeah, definitely best decision. Considering that he's not planning to take Turner to the final two, it doesn't really matter what decision he makes.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing is that whoever he evicts, if he takes the other person to the end, he wins. So it doesn't matter. But just the simple fact that he's gonna plan on taking Taylor, that is an L. That is an L for him, not for us. To be clear, not for us. But yeah, for him, he's handing the game over. In my opinion, we still don't know, obviously, but I think so.
Yeah. The audience also gave Taylor's HOA train a 6.2 this week. I mean, it's not like she had a lot of power this week. Probably would have been a better HOA train if she had been able to successfully convince Monty to evict Turner. But either way, she secured herself a spot in the final three. And more importantly, has seemingly secured that Monty will take her to the final two, which could be her winning move overall in the game. Let's talk about the America's Favorite Player vote, because, of course, I ask this every season. Who are you voting for America's Favorite Player? Who is your pick? The vote hasn't started yet. But here's what I want you guys to guess. I want you to give me a range of percentages, a five percentage range. Or no, you know what? Just give me 1%. We'll see who's closer. What percentage do you think Taylor has of the vote for America's Favorite Player?
I know there's like a nice little chunk of Michael people in there, and the last time I went Taylor over Michael ended up being the one that actually was the correct choice, but maybe with some time after he's already been gone. I will say I still think it's majority Taylor. I think it's probably like around, let's say 73% want Taylor to get AFP.
I wrote my answer in the air, 83, but I'll change to 84%.
All right. Aman, you were 1% off.
Wow.
72% of the audience went with Taylor. So, yeah, 72% of the audience voting Taylor as America's Favorite Player. Michael was in second place with 13%. Joseph in third place with 7%. And then very negligible numbers, but you've got a couple of Turners, a couple of Kyles, a couple of Britneys, and a couple of Alyssas. Down. Those are all like literally a couple. Like they're at 1%. Round it up.
No.
Yeah, well, that's the point. That's what I was trying to say earlier, is that I think a lack of showing the jury segments mixed in with people who have been watching the season fully tapped in and the backing they're giving. I just don't see, because obviously there's going to be people that are like, nope, I don't like Taylor. I think I've been keeping it on the Facebook page. Those first couple of weeks where everyone was united, that's long gone. They don't like Taylor. But who are they all banding to back for the vote? Because a lot of them don't like Michael either. A lot of them, some of them don't like Kyle. So I think it's just going to be scattered. So that's why I feel like Taylor's got this. So no matter what, I think Taylor's celebrating at least one award prize money thing that night, at least.
So there's been a big dial. One happens every year, and I don't know if I've ever actually seen a clear-cut answer. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention. Can you win the game and still win AFP? Is that a thing? Has that ever been like an official ruling? Have we ever got an official word from production on that, or no?
It has been said that it is possible. It's just a matter of like how true that actually is, given the history. It was long assumed that it was not possible. But I think Grodner has come out and said, yes, it is possible. So whether that's true, who knows?
I mean, we can look back, because I don't know how many years ago is when Grodner confirmed it, but I feel like every winner I'm thinking of for like the last 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't have thought they had a chance of winning AFP regardless. I think the closest would have been at that point, because Tyler won it in 20, right?
Yeah.
So Tyler's probably the closest you've come to see someone win both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm still not entirely sold on the fact. Well, no, you know what? No, I think Taylor has it in the bag. I think I agree, Pooya. I think
Turner's the closest. I didn't think of Turner. He might be the closest one.
Yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if Taylor didn't win America's Favorite Player. I think that and you know how fun would it be if Taylor did win America's Favorite and the game? That'd be pretty.
That would just be just iconic.
Yeah. Is the America's Favorite 75 now? 75,000 or 50,000 still?
I think it's 75.
Oh, it's 25. Sorry, it was 25,000. What am I saying?
So it's 50. It's 50 now. Then 50.
Okay.
Because they upped it.
Not bad. It's not bad change, you know.
So $800,000. Ooh, baby.
So here's for reference. In Big Brother All Stars, 39% of the audience voted for Devon. They said they were voting for Devon as America's Favorite Player. She was still the top vote getter on the poll, but with only 39% of the vote. Taylor with 72% of the vote, I think.
How much did Tiffany have?
Says a lot. I couldn't find that one. I think I might have neglected to ask last year, perhaps. So we'll see.
And
but
I'm gonna hope that the trend is still the same and that Taylor has this in the bag. So
I would be very shocked if Taylor didn't win.
She wins this game and wins America's Favorite. Oh my god. Oh, I just need this to happen.
Would she have then won the most money from in Big Brother history, Big Brother US history from the show?
I think so. I don't think Xavier won $50,000.
Yeah, because the prize money went up $250, and you know Cody won the whole thing 500 plus second place 50. I think she has it. I think she has the record.
I think so too. I think Derek was up there with the America's Team America prizes, but I don't think that's nearly enough to cover the extra 250.
Yeah, no way.
So yeah, I think she would be the winningest
winner. Yes.
Winningest winner.
Wow.
I asked the audience to rank the players left in the game from their favorite to the least favorite. You want to take a crack at this?
I'm gonna go Taylor, then Turner, then Britney, then Monty.
What's the question?
Rank the players remaining in the game from your favorite to your least favorite.
Monty's last, Britney's third, Turner's second, Taylor's first.
All right, you're both wrong, but only because it was a trick question, kind of.
Were Taylor is indeed in here?
Taylor is indeed first. Monty is indeed last. Britney and Turner, dead tie.
Oh,
like to the 100th points, dead tie. I cannot go any deeper to separate the two of them.
Oh, wow.
They have, I believe, the exact same amount of votes.
Wow. Split house, baby.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Finally, last couple of questions here. Rate the episodes this week. They got a 5.3 out of 10, down from the 6.0 last week. Feeds a 4.8, down from the 5.5 last week. And the season as a whole, final rating of the season as a whole while the season is running, 7.0, exactly the same as last week. So we will see if that changes based on how the season ends. But as of right now, a 7 out of 10 for the season, which, you know, it's that kind of middle ground. Like, it was good. There were some great parts maybe, but there were also some, I don't know if I want to go all the way up. And so I think a 7 kind of represents it well.
Stick the landing. It has to stick the landing. If it sticks the landing, I'm completely fine with a 7, maybe even a 7.5, maybe. But yeah, it will always be stained with the effery that Taylor had to go through. So if it does not stick the landing, then it severely diminishes for me. It deflates in the end. So
for reference, Big Brother All Stars in the final week was given a 4.1. Big Brother 23 was given a 6.3. And maybe we'll even go to Big Brother Canada 10 was given an 8.6.
Of course it was.
So
I sat down and reflected about Big Brother All Stars 2 a couple of days ago. I was like, oh my God, that sucked. Oh my God, it really sucked. It was so bad.
We were in the trenches. It was like, oh my God, we're getting a Big Brother season despite it being a pandemic. Oh, and it's All Stars. Oh my God. And then
I just think because of all the cookout hysteria and mania after the season after, I just think that, like, when I had like a little moment of lucidity, I was like, oh my God, that was horrible. Never again. At least not for another 15 years, please.
all right. Are we ready to rate these players?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. This is the portion of the podcast where we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game. Tends to be somewhere around the criteria of long-term prospects to win, short-term safety, and what did they do this week. But here we are at the final roundtable of the season, final stock watch rating. So chances to win the game are going to be king here. King or as perhaps Taylor would put it, whoops.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
Queen. So chance to win the game is going to be huge. You know, decision making in the week is also definitely going to be playing a factor for me, at least. It always does play a big factor. Short-term safety, sure, plays a role as well, but it pretty much just ties entirely into long-term prospects at this point. So those things are basically combined into one mega criteria. And then what kind of decisions are they making this week? Also going to play a role. So with that in mind, I also, again, tweet out a survey that the audience is able to rate the players as well. And we are just going to kick it right off. There's only 4 players to rate here. And right away, we got to talk about Taylor. Taylor, who is guaranteed a spot in the final 3. She won that HOH. And I think, again, I would say, like, right now, I would say close to 90% chance to be in the final 2. I think Turner has a very small chance of winning the final 3 HOH. And I think that if you add, Taylor's chance to win the final 3 HOH and Monty's likelihood of taking Taylor to the final 3 HOH, and you subtract Turner's chance to win the final 3 HOH, and maybe add a tiny bit back for his chance to potentially take Taylor to the final 2, I think you get somewhere around 90%. I feel very good about Taylor making it to the final 2, and I feel pretty good about Taylor winning if she is there. So I feel great about that. I also have to factor in, though, that there is definitely still a chance she loses to Monty in the final 2. I also have to take into account that she does have a misread here, I believe, in that she thinks she has a better chance against Monty than against Turner. I think that's incorrect. That could turn out to be a wrong read, but I don't think so. The fact that she plans to take Monty, I don't think is great. She also did fail to convince Monty to cut Turner instead of Britney. But you know, it says it was a hard sell in the first place. But at the same time, she did this week manage to lock in that Monty will take her to the final two. And she has also won Britney back over this week and very firmly has Britney's vote on lock. I think that's a very good thing as well. So, you know, I've been going around in circles here. I think that it can't, you know, there's too many chances for her to lose for me to go as high as like a 9 or a 10. And then again, planning to take Monty right now, I don't love, but I also don't blame her too much because, you know, it's you know, a lot of people are making the same mistake in the house. It's sort of just the general perception, and at least she'd be willing to make the move if she knew the right information. So, it's a tough one. I think I have a feeling that she's going to win the game. And I do think that despite everything, she continues to make the fewest mistakes in the game. And I think that's really one of the primary stories for her throughout the game. Not only, you know, the comeback story, but also she's the least prone to error in the whole house, I think, including Kyle, including Michael, certainly including Monty. She just doesn't make as many mistakes as most of her competition. And I think that's true here at the Final Four as well. Monty. Game-wise. I think I'm going to go with an 8 for my most likely winner candidate here in Taylor. Pooya, what do you think?
I also had 8. I'll keep it quick. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the audience, you know, we talked about it. Y'all voted. I said it looks like 60-40 to me. Now, like you said, it's not a done deal sitting next to Monty. That could still change. That could go 5-4 either way. We just don't know what's going to happen. But simply put, I think from where I'm standing, everything points to the more likely winner being Taylor. So I think 8 makes sense, especially because I don't think I was going to give anyone beyond an 8 here, because you got to leave a little bit of wiggle room for the winner getting a 10. What am I doing here? I'm not trying to go higher than that personally. But that's where I'm at right now. I think 8 makes sense.
All right. Aman.
Yeah, so I mean, look, y'all, she
bookend it.
She wasn't supposed to be here. And I remember just like the total despair that we had at the beginning of this season months ago. I remember just how emotional that whole situation was. And against all odds, she is here. And not only is she here, but she has great chance to win the game. I agree with you, Taran. I don't love the fact that she would take Monty, and she's given us other reasons to believe that, you know, with the right information, she'd make the right choice. She knew that Michael had to go. I mean, everybody did, but still, like she was willing to cut him. I can only assume that if she knew that it was an easier shot to beat Turner, that she would take him. A piece of me is a little mad at the fact that she doesn't quite understand that, and I think a little bit of that has to do with the fact that she is, you know, in so many ways with Monty. But I don't give a damn. I am going to give Taylor the 10 because I gave her the 10 in week 1. I think that the narrative is strong, and so I'm going to end the narrative with that 10. And when she wins this game, I will take it as full vindication. So, to 10 for me, baby.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
There you go. A 10 from Aman. Well, I can tell you that the audience went with a 7 for Taylor here. that they went with a 7, which I. Yep, that's did the math faster. That's an 8 overall for Taylor. Man, if the audience had been a little higher, well, who knows? There we go. It's going to be an 8 overall for Taylor heading into the finale. Next up is Monty. Pooya, how do you feel about Monty?
Okay, so let's look at how do I feel about Monty's a loaded question. I'll just tell you, I'll just read his stat sheet here. So Monty wins the final veto of the season. Okay, he not only punches his ticket to the final 3, but he also gets the additional power that the HOH doesn't have, in that he gets to pick who goes with him to final 3. And he's picking someone who, as of right now, even still, is someone who, if they were to win final HOH, they would take him, which puts him in a pretty much guaranteed spot in final 2 should he win. Now, the question that comes in, though, is what's his win odds looking like? Because if he wins, he's taking Taylor. If Taylor wins, she takes him. In that scenario, he might be in a tough spot. He might lose. It might be a little too close. If he takes Turner, he wins. It's a W. It's over. Like that I think we can all agree that's what's going to happen. But that's not looking like the likely scenario here at all, especially given that we've highlighted, looking at the past comps, looking at the history of the show, that Turner might have a tough time with these comps and might not win any and might just be sitting there for the ride come finale night. All of that to say, the 60-40, I would end up giving him 1 grade lower than Taylor. I'm going to give him a 7. Just off of that. I think, again, there's only 2 people that I see having a chance of holding the crown at the end of the week, and it's these 2. And if I'm rating one to win it over the other, then I'm giving the other one the next closest grade.
All right. Aman, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that Taylor has going for her game right now is obviously the narrative. And I think that Monty has been an instrumental tool in creating that narrative to his own damn detriment. He was one of the people that was completely anti-her in the beginning of the game, sort of like cooled off a bit, then went back in hot and heavy, then cooled off a bit, then went back in hot and heavy at the very last minute. You're just being completely horrible. And now, of course, this is unbeknownst to people that will be voting, but I think for the overall just general narrative of the season, which I think is, once again, that is the story of BB24, sis, you're just adding fuel to her fire. So yeah, I think I agree with you, Pooya. I think a 7 is apropos. I think that he probably is the second best likely to win the game, but man, I just, unless he cuts Taylor, I don't think that that's gonna happen. And while I was willing to forgo the fact that Taylor is taking a harder path to victory, he is not getting a victory if he takes her. So yeah, it's a 7 for me.
If he had said, and if it was clear that he was going to take Turner, I think I would have flipped my numbers here. But that's not the reality we're in. I think just that alone bumps him down for me.
All right. Well, the audience actually disagrees with the 2 of you. The audience lower on Monty. The audience gave him a 6.
Yeah,
Yes,
that works.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
I have to say, I'm inclined to follow suit, mostly because I want to make sure my rating reflects just how bad I think his call is to take Taylor over Turner. And obviously Taylor is feeling the same way in terms of taking Monty over Turner. They're both overestimating Turner, but I think the main difference for me is that Taylor sees Monty and Turner as like relatively equivalent, and she's thinking like, hey, I maybe need to just go ahead and take Monty, whereas Monty is really just like really completely underestimating Taylor's chances to win the game. Taylor feels like I probably lose either way, I might as well just take Monty. Monty is like, I probably win either way, but it's more of a slam dunk against Taylor.
It's so delicious too, because he's sitting over here lecturing her about, oh, your coldness this, your coldness that. Boo, she's going to beat you. Oh my God, as much as I would love to just see Taylor win in a landslide against Turner, if she decides to take him or if he decides to take her, oh my God. Ooh, it's just chef's kiss. It is chef's kiss.
Yeah. The only thing, though, that is holding me back is that first, I do agree with his decision to keep Turner in the game. I think that is the correct decision to make. He won this Final Four veto. I think he is pretty likely to win the Final 3 HOH. And he hasn't actually done it yet. He plans to, but he might change his mind. And even if he doesn't, he might still win over Taylor, in which case, woe is me for having underestimated him, right? So I do think that he is the second most likely person to win the game. And so overall, even though I want to go lower, I think I do have to agree with the 7 that the two of you gave to Monty. All right, let's move on to Turner. Aman, how do you feel about Turner?
Turner. I guess I'm still sort of like holding on to like a small flame that he could potentially beat Monty. It seems to be dwindling more and more every day, though. So yeah, I mean, he has to be lower than the both of them, obviously. I think that Turner played a pretty decent game, I think that him and Monty are sort of like almost on equal levels. While you can maybe make the argument that Monty was a little bit more forward in making a few game moves. I still feel like Turner was not without agency this season. I think that he knew certain risks involved in this game. I think that the worst move that he made was getting rid of Alyssa. I think that he should have given himself a little bit more credit to stand up against Monty. Like, I get having loyalty to him, but I mean, he's keeping Taylor around, so why can't you keep Alyssa around, So I think had he not gotten rid of Alyssa, I think that I feel much better at his chances to win this game at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think he played a nice game, but it just pales in comparison, both strategically and narratively, against the other two. So I just think that there really just isn't much of a shot. But I think I'm still a little bit more optimistic than most. So I will just go ahead and give him a 6, because I don't think that he's completely out of it.
A 6 from Aman. Pooya, give me the response that you're having right now. I see your face.
A 6? You gave Monty a 7, who we think has a shot of winning and is guaranteed a spot in the final. How is he a 6? He's a 4 at best. He is what he said in his confessional on Sunday. He is the walking L right now.
Because to me, yes, we can, make predictions about who's going to win what in terms of like the competitions. I don't think that he's completely out in terms of winning the final HOH, and that might have a small effect on how people perceive his game if he is the one that wins the final HOH. I still think that, yes, it's probably more likely that he loses, but I think his win equity still has room to grow if he's the one that wins the final HOH and decides to take Monty. I think that there's still a chance there. I don't think that he's completely out of it. I don't think that it's likely, but I think I'm fine with a 6. Yeah, I am.
Chell wants to know if you're willing to put some chapstick on this, Aman.
Chapstick on what? Him winning the HOH or winning the game?
I don't know.
I think like, look, we can never really. There's mine is like some space where I guess you can never really know, and I still think that Monty Turner is an interesting final vote count. I do.
I feel like I have a rating of 3 and I'm outside the house. Like, I feel like to me, again, he's a 4. I'm giving him a 4 because a lot would have to go his way for him to win come Sunday. And I just don't see the path for him. He'd have to win the final 3 immunity, which wow, Survivor tomorrow, folks. He has to win the final 3 HOH. He would have to cut
Taylor.
He'd sit there with Monty. Then he'd have to articulate his game better,
which he might be able to do. He's not bad with words.
The guy that's like, all right, so here's what I think. Basically, what I was doing was, let me just restart that. Like, okay, so what I did in the game was that I won the HOH.
Guys, look, I still gave him lower than the other two. I don't think that it is likely that he is going to win. I am just not as. I am more optimistic than most, and I think that my rating has to reflect that because I don't agree that he's as down and out as everybody else does. I just don't. I don't.
Give him a 5.
And I still feel like, yeah, there is like a narrative like, oh, well, he was the one that took the HOH. He had the HOH and took Amira out. He had the HOH that took Kyle out. Like, I still think that there's still some currency there that if anyone is wavering, maybe it goes his way. Maybe. I don't know. There's a chance. I mean, I don't think it's either a possibility that Michael is like, you know what? I think I'll vote for Turner because I'm still a little bitter with Monty. I think that still could happen, And if Michael votes for Turner, maybe Britney's not going to vote for Monty. I just think that there's still some room for him to win if he's
Turner's still
really
not like Turner. I mean, Monty used the veto. Turner renommed him. I feel like if he's mad at Monty, he's mad as Turner. That's not going to be like, I don't think if
yeah, but Turner's the one that put him on the block.
Yeah.
So, because if we're assuming that Michael, which I agree with Terrence Reed on this, and that Michael is sort of like a bit of the Twitter standy kind of guy, and kind of like loves is more prone to emotional gameplay than maybe he'd like to let on. I think that if there is a reason not to have to vote for Monty, who he probably feels a little bit more bitter with because Monty was the one that was saying, no, guy, you're going home. I think he might take it and vote for Turner. I really do. I don't think that Monty is a lock for Turner. Michael is a lock for Monty. I don't. I really don't.
It actually makes no sense. This is nonsensical. This is completely illogical.
I don't think it is. I really don't. I really don't. I don't even think that we'll have to worry about it because I don't think Monty and Turner is going to happen. But if it does, I'm not going to be the one sitting here giving him a 4 and he gets like more votes than we thought that he might have gotten. It's just not going to happen on my end. Nope.
There is a chapstick wager in here somewhere. I'm just not going to touch it. I don't want someone else to have to do it.
The chapstick wager already happened, buddy, and we already know how that turned out.
Listen,
so I
all I know is that I'm rooting for a Melissa draft win, but then I'm the next likely person. You are not winning the draft, so my life's gravy.
I didn't say I was winning the draft, nor do I want to win this draft. I need Taylor to win Big Brother 24. And if Taylor doesn't win Big Brother 24, it probably will be Monty that wins Big Brother 24. But at the same time, I had a small little feeling that Turner would make it far. And not just because I wanted, to be right about the whole chapstick wager, but because I saw something in his game. I saw like this little mini little comp beast that probably would be good at a lot of shit. And that was kind of truth to some degree. And I'm going to continue on with those little inklings that I have about Matthew Turner. Okay. Like that's just, he hasn't really failed me yet, except for getting rid of Alyssa. And maybe there's a chance that he might not fail me in the end. If that particular scenario happens, if it doesn't happen, Taylor's going to win. And that's what it is.
All right. Well, the audience gave Turner a 5. A 5 from the audience.
Which is 1 less than 6.
Which is 1 less than 6. I do like that Aman has spent all this time defending his rating. Mine is way more off of a 5. Because let me tell you, let me just go on a quick little TED talk about why I think Turner deserves a 1 this week. Because I really want to give him a 1. I really feel like the decision to evict Alyssa is an all-time bad decision in the history of the game. I genuinely think he has put himself in a position to to be completely drawing dead. I don't think that because this is in the period of time that we were talking about. He evicted Alyssa, and he proved to us that he has not studied, that he doesn't know his days, which means he's almost definitely not going to win the final 3 HOH unless he magically lucks into like the best guessing he's ever done in his life. And so I think that's atrocious. I think that he's going into the final 3 willingly against 2 people he cannot beat. I cannot see a world where Turner wins against either Taylor or Monty. I think the closest he comes is actually against Taylor by cutting Monty. But even then, I think it's a very, very tough path. And I just don't see it happening. So I really do feel like he deserves a 1. I really do. I'm not going to give him a 1 because he's too close to the end, and I can't claim to know for sure what the jury is going to be thinking. But know this: in my head, and in my heart, he's a 1. And if the jury confirms that they would not have voted for him, or if he loses the game because he couldn't win a jury vote against Monty or Taylor, that will confirm to me that my heart was right. And if he wins the game, then my heart was wrong. But
he's not gonna win. I just don't think that he's less than a 6. That's it.
Oh, I think he's less than a 6. I think that it was just a awful decision to evict Alyssa. And I think the willingness to go to the end with both Taylor and Monty is just so bad. That said, I'm not going to give him a 1.
Okay.
Not going to give him a 1. I am going to give him a 2.
Okay.
Well, Taran, if you're not going to give him a 1, then I'm going to give him a 4. I'm not going to do the 1 either, but that was fun. That was a very, very different answer than what I thought you were going to give us, but it was a fun ride.
See, I just feel like even if he doesn't evict, so let's say he evicts Taylor in the end, Alyssa probably still isn't going to win that veto. Alyssa's probably still on the block. I mean, yes, having an ally still with you is probably is better than not having one at all. I just don't think that Alyssa is like that much of a. I think it's Alyssa to be an all-time bad move. Wouldn't say that.
For me, it's a very simple equation. He evicts Alyssa, goes to the final 3 with Monty and Taylor. I think he can't win the game. He doesn't evict Alyssa. He's still drawing live, and
true.
I think he's actually drawing very well.
It's sort of similar to like what Monty's going through right now, where it's like, okay, if you get rid of Turner, then you're probably Britney and Taylor are going to take you out as soon as they can, versus Turner staying there and then you still have a shot at making it to final 2. I totally understand that, but that still kind of suggests that Alyssa's ever going to have any power in the game, and that's just never going to happen. So
I don't even care if Alyssa wins a single competition moving forward. Go to the final 2 with Alyssa and you win the game. Go to the final 2 with Taylor or Monty. I think you don't win the game. I think it's that simple.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Britney. Let's talk about Britney. I can tell you the audience gave Britney a 3 this week. 3 for Britney. This is a tough one for me as well. People are going to be very critical, I think. But I feel like Britney's made some decent efforts here. I think that she has played this week halfway decently. I think that she has made as good a pitch as possible to Monty. I think that I want to give her credit for that. In terms of gameplay this week. At the same time, though, she is just completely drawing dead. There's zero chance to win. Even if she does manage to survive the week, she still can't win the game. So I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find if her gameplay has been enough to get her above the 1 of just like zero chance to win. And even though I don't think her gameplay is a 1, I think that I still have to go with a 1. I think that if because there's like a couple of different areas, right? If she did have a chance to win the jury, maybe I'd give her a 2. If she did have a chance to stay, maybe I'd give her a 2. If she was playing really well this week, maybe I'd give her a 2. If she had made the move to try to keep Taylor for the right reasons last week, maybe I'd give her a 2. But I can't. Britney, I know you and Taylor shouted us out while this podcast was going.
Hi, Britney.
If you're watching this after the fact, I'm sorry, but yeah, it's a 1.
It's not personal.
You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, maybe that sound effect was personal.
It had to happen, Britney.
You get
It's
it,
a
Britney.
rite of passage.
I mean, we're the week before the finale. You are not going to be in the final 3. You could be playing the best of the best, but you're not going to be in the final 3. So, like, how do I give you anything but a 1? You know what I mean? I will give her credit, though. She is not laid down. She has not given up. She's still trying, and I commend that. But yeah, no, the drawing dead thing is very real. And at the end of the day, we're looking at this end game. You're looking at the last stocks, the last points. You're looking at who's going to win. And if you're not there, you can't even be in contention to win, right? So, you know what? I'll give her a 2. Why not? I'll give her a 2. I'm going to give her a 2.
Pooya gives her the 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, guys. Wow.
Aman's about to hit her with a 6. We're good.
I was actually going to go ahead and give her a 10 because I just feel like
Stop.
Can you imagine? I would never be allowed back on this podcast again. Yeah, I mean, I feel like with Britney, like, there's, you can say a lot about, how Monty is handling Britney right now and how that's a detriment to his jury management. And I think that's all true. But I also think that in terms of Britney, like, she's dealing with the social consequences of the whole thing of how she handled with, Kyle and Michael and all that. Like, she's dealing with the repercussions of that a little bit when it comes to her relationship with Monty. And in a social game, I think that has to be, you have to think about that. And she weighed the pros and cons. Her and Michael went over it, like, what was the best thing to do? What was, how to handle that situation, that very sensitive topic. And while I can appreciate that, it was a situation that they tried to be cerebral about, I still think in the end, you left a lot to be desired in the situation and in a game where you try to have to be on the best terms possible with everyone. I think that was something that just she rolled the dice with Monty and it just didn't work out for Monty. Maybe Taylor's a little bit more gracious, so maybe on Taylor's end that was the right move to make. It didn't happen with Monty, and that's a big reason as to why she can't really have any wiggle room this time around. So it makes her whole game at this point just sort of dead in the water. So I do like that she's still trying. I do like that she presented great points. She made a lot of great points. As to why you should keep her. I just think it was just too late. And like what everyone's been saying this entire season, like if she had just sort of, I think that she was flailing about in the beginning and she was acting a mess, but then things kind of improved when she was with Michael, but then she went a little bit too under Michael's wing. It was so comfortable with being his Cody. And it's just like, well, now that he's gone, now it's like, well, now what? And we just never really got to see much after that. So yeah, I think I will give her the 2. I'll agree with Pooya. I won't give her the 1. I'll give her the 2.
There you go. 2s from Pooya and Aman will, I believe, land Britney at a 2 overall. And there we go. That's the stock watch for their week. It's that simple.
Yep.
That's it.
Look at what we did. We'll see if this has changed the leaderboard here. We'll try to take a gander if it updates properly. But here we go. An 8 for Taylor, 7 for Monty, 4 for Turner, and 2 for Britney. which lines up, I think, pretty well with what we're thinking. Maybe Turner should be a bit lower, but what are you gonna do?
Sorry about it.
All right. Any final thoughts as we start to wrap up here for the night? Oh no, I think we do
Very
have
updated.
an updated leaderboard. Here we go. Here it is. I believe this is Dandre, I believe, was in the lead last time. This is Pooya.
Hi.
This is Dandre. Let me try and reload these. I tried to prepare.
Oh,
with the people on the panel. Dandre, yes, was in first place last time. Stays in first place with a Monty investment.
Oh, wow.
There you go, Dandre in first place heading into the finale. Of course, how this works is that as we head into finale night, the winner of the game will receive the equivalent of a 10 rating. Second place will receive a 1 rating. Third place is out. You lose everything. So that's how the final week works here in the Stock Watch. And here we go. Yes. Made $700 here, Dandre.
That's more than my net worth in the Stock Watch.
Pooya also made some money here. 170.
I've come a long way. For like the first month, I was improving, but then going down because people who were not investing and getting 20 every week had more money than me. So if I can crack the top 1,000, that's a W for me.
There you go.
So I'll take it.
And looks like Melissa was in on Turner.
Melissa, baby.
Ooh.
And Britney and Monty. The only person she didn't invest in was Taylor. She probably wasn't investing at all. Let's be real. She's on her honeymoon. Yeah, she didn't do anything.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that makes
she
sense.
hasn't done anything for a couple of.
Oh my god.
Hey, she'll probably win the draft though. So there's that.
Yeah,
What a
that's the
journey Melissa's
consolation.
been on this season, right?
Oh,
Look at
Kyle.
this.
Oh god. She's never invested in Taylor.
Wow.
Her own
All
damn
right.
draft. Wow.
And here's I'm still reloading. It's I don't think I went on Monty. That was last week. By the way, last week I forgot to do anything.
Oh no.
And just ended up on Monty, which did work out for me. But this week I did remember to do something, except this is
Now it's not working for you.
not working. So let me see. Maybe I can find myself on the here I am.
27th. Oh, you went up some. Nice.
27th. Look at that. Yes, I went on Taylor. I believed in Taylor. All right, there you go. All right. Well, that's the Stock Watch for the week. Any final thoughts here? Any final thoughts on the season?
You know, we have 3 episodes to go, right? A Thursday eviction episode, a Friday recap of the recap, and then a Sunday finale. All eyes on finale for me. Honestly, I feel like we'll see what happens. I'm very nervous. You know, I do have Monty in the draft, but I don't care about the draft. I don't want to win the draft. My heart would be full with a Taylor win here. That's what I'm personally rooting for. That's what I hope to see. And yeah, I mean, if that's the ending, wow, what a story. What a story for this season. If that's not the ending, we'll see what the story is for the season. But yeah, we'll see.
We will see indeed. Aman, any final thoughts?
No, I agree. I just y'all know what I want. I want it so bad.
A Turner win?
I just no. I just feel like if Turner wins this, they'll just be like, "What the hell are y'all doing? Like, what are you doing?" I just feel like it just needs to happen for my soul. I just need for it to happen. And I know, like I said, that it's not like the best player ever winning, but like we've had plenty of seasons where strategic people make it to the end and win. Okay. And we have a few seasons where the best story wins, and that's okay. And I just think that hers is just particularly unique and special. And I I think it also sort of just like shifts the general conversation about like who is worthy to win Big Brother. I feel like we need to crack that open a little bit and like just be a little bit more open-minded. I'm not saying that we can't root for people that make good game moves. Of course you can, but not every season is going to be like that. And I think that is what makes this show so special. And so I think I think that this really can't end any other way for this to be satisfying. But if it happens, whatever. Like, we don't have to like be all like, well, screw Turner, screw Monty, they suck. Like, which I'm sure people are going to do anyway. But like, I certainly won't be putting the energy out. Like, congratulations to either one of them if they end up taking it. But we know who should win.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you then here on the final Stock Watch Roundtable of the season. Tune in Thursday night. I'll be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching live with all of you. I'll also be live watching tomorrow night's Survivor and Amazing Race premiere. So if you want to come and hang out, watch that with me. Should be a great time. And then, of course, Thursday and Friday, I'll be live on Twitch watching those episodes as well. And we'll be live here on the podcast to recap them both, including Friday's recap of the recap. So tune in for that, of course. And then Sunday, the finale, I'll be watching live, reacting live on Twitch. And then here on the podcast, we'll talk about it all after the finale of Big Brother 24. Again, you can find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. You can also find me over on Twitter @ArmstrongTaran. If you want to find out all the stuff I'm doing, including the House of the Dragon recaps and Among Us videos dropping and some fun ones over there and all kinds of fun stuff we're doing over on Twitch. So check out all of that good stuff. We did the Survivor draft last night. I dominated it. I got the best team by far. It was great. Hashtag Mom Squad. 2.5 moms. And
2.5 moms. How can you be half a mom?
It's just
watch and find out, Aman. Aman, where can people find you?
Like, did it only come out halfway? Like, what this? I'm so confused.
Oh, dear Lord.
You can find me everywhere at Aman Adwin. That's it.
Boom. Pooya.
You can find me on Twitter @Pooyaism. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. Now that I'm back from my vacation, I will be streaming there. I'll stream Friday night after the recap of the recap podcast. I'll be going live to chit chat, let everyone know about the wild adventure I had this past week on my vacation. And then Sunday at 2 p.m., we'll be doing our weekly Goose Goose Duck lobby. This will be the last 2 p.m. slot until then we go back to 5 p.m. moving forward. The game has announced a new mode called draft mode where it randomly, it looks amazing. It randomly generates you a number to draft anonymously. It gives you 3 options to pick from, and then that's your role. So we're going to be trying that out on Sunday. Come through, see how that plays out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Podcast-wise, 9 Day Fiancé, I had Chappelle on with me this week. It was a great time. That podcast should drop sometime today. And then Masked Singer does premiere tomorrow night as well, which means Liana and I will be back to talk about that on a weekly basis, talk season 8. So be on the lookout for that as well.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you then tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we will see all of you next time.